My wife gave our son a different name on the birth certificate, her ex's. When I confronted her, he's not even yours. What are you going to do? Divorce me? This is a no-fault state. I'm taking half. Loser. I didn't say a word. I just got a DNA test, hired a lawyer, and started packing. 3 months later, she was outside my building sobbing, homeless, and begging me to. I am still processing how one piece of paper changed everything. It's been just 5 days since my son was born. My wife, Vanessa, 31F, was discharged yesterday, and I was sorting through the paperwork from the hospital, birth certificate, insurance forms, the usual. That's when I saw it. The name on the birth certificate, not James Taylor like weed. Agreed. Instead, Alexander Reynolds. Taylor, Alexander. The name hit me like a truck. That was her ex's name. Vanessa, what's this? I asked, walking into the bedroom where she was resting with the baby. The birth certificate says Alexander, not James. She glanced up, then looked back at her phone. Oh, yeah, last minute change of heart. Alexander sounds better. Alexander like your ex? Something shifted in her face. A cold calculation replaced the exhaustion of new motherhood. Surprised. You caught that so quickly, she said, with a small, ugly laugh. Why would you name our son after your ex? Because he's not our son, Mark. He's Alex's son. The room seemed to tilt. What? You heard me. The baby isn't yours. Alex and I have been seeing each other for about a year. I stared at her, blood rushing in my ears. What are you going to do about it? Divorce me? She laughed coldly. This is a no-fault state. I get half of everything either way. The house, your savings, plus child support. She turned back to her phone. Stay and play, daddy. Or leave and pay. Either way, I win. I didn't say a word, didn't scream, didn't throw things. Just turned around and walked out of the room. My first call was to a DNA testing facility. They could see me tomorrow. Second call was to a law firm specializing in divorce cases. The receptionist heard the urgency in my voice and squeezed me in for a consultation the same afternoon. Jessica Winters was exactly what I needed. Experienced, direct, and strategically minded. No fault. Divorce doesn't mean what your wife thinks it means, she explained after hearing my situation. It just means you don't need to prove wrongdoing to get divorced. It doesn't guarantee her half your assets, especially with evidence of fraud. Fraud. Paternity fraud. Putting you on the birth certificate of another man's child. Knowingly, that's fraud. Her admission about taking half your assets shows intent. We can work with that. Jessica outlined I get the DNA test. Gather financial records, especially proof of assets I had before marriage. Secure valuables and irreplaceable items. Find new housing. Most importantly, don't tip your hand. Let her think she's winning, Jessica advised. The more complacent she is, the better. 3 days later, the DNA test confirmed what the baby wasn't mine. I spent the next week securing my most important documents and possessions in a storage unit, researching apartments and meticulously documenting our finances. Our home was mostly purchased with money from my software business that had sold before we married. Jessica confirmed this would be critical. She advised, urging me to gather all documentation showing the source of the down payment and mortgage payments. 1 week later, while Vanessa was at her postnatal checkup with her mother, I executed the plan. The movers arrived at 9 a.m. sharp, efficiently packing my pre-marriage furniture and personal belongings. By 11 o'clock, they were gone. I had my name removed from all utilities, left the divorce papers on the dining table with a note, all communication through my attorney, and drove to my new apartment. The sense of calm was surreal, not the reaction she expected, I'm sure. 72 hours later. Well, it's been a ride. Thanks for the comments and DMs. Good to know I'm not completely off my rocker for reacting the way I did. 72 hours refers to when I'm writing this. The main confrontation happened Wednesday afternoon, same day as the birth certificate discovery. Vanessa returned home from her appointment around 2 o'clock p.m. According to our neighbor Ted, who texted me, there was a lot of screaming about 15 minutes later. Then the barrage began. 21 missed calls, 31 texts, all blocked. I read a few before blocking her. What the hell did you do? You can't just leave like this. This isn't how we're supposed to handle this. You were supposed to stay and support us or pay from afar, not fight. You'll regret this. She started emailing to Those got filtered to a special folder Jessica advised I create. Don't delete anything. Don't respond. Document everything. The panic in her messages was clear. She hadn't expected me to discover the paternity so quickly. Hadn't expected me to leave immediately. And definitely hadn't expected me to fight back. Legally, her plan was falling apart because I wasn't following the script she had written for me. By evening, she called in reinforcements. Her mother called, also blocked, but she left voicemails. Mark, this is Sandra. Vanessa is distraught. You need to come home right now and discuss this like adults. This isn't how things are supposed to go. You have responsibilities to a child that isn't mine, to a woman who deliberately deceived me. The sheer audacity. Vanessa must have realized I was serious by day 2. She finally contacted Jessica, first with threats. Tell your client this isn't what we discussed. He can leave if he wants, but he needs to keep supporting us. Otherwise, I'll take him for everything. Jessica's response was perfect. My client never discussed any arrangement regarding a child that isn't his. We have DNA confirmation and documentation of your admission of paternity fraud. We'll see you at the preliminary hearing. That changed the tone quickly. By yesterday, Vanessa was begging to know where I was staying, claiming she just needs to talk. When that didn't work, she sent her sister Diane to my office. Diane cornered me in the parking lot. Mark, you need to go home. Vanessa made a mistake, a horrible mistake, but this isn't how things were supposed to go. You were supposed to leave amicably and support them, not fight her legally. Not my child, Diane. Not my problem. I said, finally understanding the full picture. That doesn't matter, she told me. She told you she'd let you off the hook for actual fatherhood duties. She just needs your financial support. She can't do this alone. So that was the plan. I either stay and raise another man's child or I leave, but still pay for everything. Then why even tell me the truth? Because she thought you'd be reasonable. She thought you'd understand the situation and do the right thing. The right thing being continuing to fund her lifestyle while she raised her lover's child. The entitlement was staggering. Please leave before I call security, I said. You cold bastard, she spat. After everything Vanessa's done for you, done for me, like cheat for a year and try to pass off another man's child as mine. Jessica filed for an expedited hearing based on the paternity fraud, though she warned it could still take 6 to 8 weeks to get on the court calendar. We're pushing for Vanessa to cover all legal fees due to her demonstrated bad faith. The kicker came this morning, a text from an unknown number, but obviously Vanessa using someone else's phone. Alex wants nothing to do with us. He blocked me. You can't just abandon us like this. We need you. Her backup plan failed, and now she's desperate. I almost feel sorry for her. Almost. 6 weeks later, the preliminary hearing finally happened last week. The court system moves at its own pace, even with expedited requests. Vanessa showed up looking exhausted with a baby in a carrier, an obvious play for sympathy that the judge completely ignored. Her attorneys seemed unprepared for the evidence. Jessica, the DNA test, documentation of Vanessa's admission, and a financial breakdown showing that 80% of our house was purchased with my pre-marriage assets. The judge wasn't impressed with Vanessa, especially after Jessica played a voicemail Vanessa had left for my brother, not knowing we weren't close. Tell Mark he's making a huge mistake. I'll drag this out until his lawyer bills bankrupt him. He'll regret this. That's when the judge ordered a freeze on marital assets and scheduled an expedited final hearing in 45 days. He also ordered Vanessa to provide a complete accounting of all spending since our separation and to vacate my home office where I had equipment for my consulting business. While this is a no-fault state, the judge stated, the court does not look kindly on attempts to manipulate the legal system through fraud or bad faith actions. Outside the courtroom, Vanessa tried to approach me, baby in arms. Mark, please, you know me. We can work through this. I just kept walking. All communication through counsel. Jessica reminded her, you'll regret this. Vanessa called after us. This isn't just about you and me. This is a child. A child whose actual father you should be contacting. Jessica replied without breaking stride. Over the next week, things escalated. Vanessa was ordered to return my work equipment, but claimed some of it had been damaged in an accident. She also emptied our joint checking account, $3,800, which Jessica immediately reported to the court as a violation of the asset freeze. The judge ordered her to repay it or face contempt charges. Then last week, she somehow got my new address, likely through a mutual friend who thought they were helping and showed up pounding on the door, baby, crying in her arms. Open the door, Mark. You can't hide from your responsibilities. We need to talk. I didn't open the door, just called building security while recording her. Through the peephole, Jessica filed for a protective order based on harassment, with the recording police report from the security team and documented pattern of escalating behavior. The judge granted a temporary order pending a full hearing. Meanwhile, I've been rebuilding, reconnected with friends. Vanessa had subtly pushed away, sleeping better than I have in months. There's a strange liberation in seeing someone's true nature so clearly. Update 3. 4 months later, the legal process dragged on longer than I'd hoped, but we finally had our day in court. The judge, clearly irritated by Vanessa's continued games, missed financial disclosure deadlines, lost documents, another attempt to contact me despite the protective order, was thorough in his review. It was over in less than 3 hours. The outcome, house to be sold with 80% of proceeds to me, reflecting my larger initial contribution and documentation of premarital funds. My retirement accounts remained solely mine. All property purchased before marriage returned to original owner. Vanessa ordered to pay $8,000 of my legal fees due to her pattern of bad faith actions, about half of my total costs. I was legally established as not being the father with no support obligations. The court ordered the birth certificate to be amended. Vanessa broke down when the judge ruled on the paternity matter. But, Your Honor, he's the only father this child has. Alexander won't. The judge also recommended Vanessa pursue a paternity action against Alexander through the family court, noting that the child had a right to support from his biological father, regardless of Alexander's marital situation. Your personal arrangement with Mr. Reynolds is not the court's concern. The judge told her the child has rights, independent of your relationship status. The house sold within 3 weeks in a hot market. I kept my job, my savings, and most of my sanity through mutual friends. I heard Vanessa had to move in with her parents in a small town 50 miles away, making her sales territory impossible to cover. She eventually took a much lower paying retail job closer to them. The entitlement is still there, though. Last week, she emailed Mark, got everything he wanted. The least he could do was help me with a down payment on a condo. After 4 years of marriage, I deserve something. Jessica's response: the court has made its determination. Please refer to the restraining order conditions before attempting further contact. Final update. 6 months later. Life has a strange way of coming full circle. Yesterday, I was walking out of my building to meet a friend for dinner. When I saw her, Vanessa sitting on a bench across the street, the baby in a stroller beside her. When she saw me, she stood up hesitating before crossing over. She looked different, thinner, hair pulled back, simply wearing jeans and a plain sweater instead of her usual designer clothes. Please, she said as I stopped. Just 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I nodded. I lost my job last month, she said without preamble. My parents are selling their house, moving to Florida. I can't. I don't have anywhere to go. I said nothing, just waited. Alex still won't acknowledge the baby, won't even take a DNA test. Says his wife would leave him. Her voice cracked. I've applied for emergency housing, but there's a waiting list. I'm sleeping in my car some nights. What do you want from me? Vanessa? Her eyes filled with tears. Help alone. Maybe you know someone who needs an assistant or has a room to rent. I'm not asking to come back. I know that's impossible, but Alexander stirred in the stroller and she automatically rocked it, soothing him. There was a time when this would have tore me apart, but I felt surprisingly calm, almost detached. Vanessa, you entitled piece of shit, I said as I walked away. The revenge wasn't in the legal victory or keeping my assets. The real revenge was in this moment, being able to stand before the woman who had tried to destroy me, who had laughed at the idea of me fighting back and feel nothing but calm detachment. She had expected me to be a doormat to either accept her betrayal or pay for her new life. Instead, I had quietly, methodically dismantled her plans and rebuilt my life on my terms. I had proven her wrong in the most fundamental way. I wasn't a loser. I was a man who knew his worth, and refused to be manipulated. That night, I slept better than I had in years, sometimes the best. Revenge isn't some elaborate scheme. It's simply refusing to be a victim and letting the natural consequences play out. The life she tried to steal from me is gone. The life I've built in its place is all mine.